What is up, everybody? Well, nobody is here yet, which is fine. My name is Craig. I am faqthemadness, FAQ the madness, frequently asked questions, all of the above. Haven't been live for a while, so I thought I would kind of give it a whirl. Got a lot of things on the horizon, literally, including the hurricane, Milton, which is why you have my title. Something to the effect of it's ruined the family vacation. That it has. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Give a little time for some people to come in. I actually have a new setup. You guys can't see exactly how it is. And I probably should see if I can hear myself. I might test that. I have I don't know what it is, but I keep having this itch on my back. And I can't really reach it. You get to that age when I was young, I played volleyball and I was always very limber. And now like I can't stand stretching. I really can't. So, but I can't. I have to get me a little back scratcher and scratch my back. So, well, how is everyone? It has been a long time. So, just to kind of catch up a little bit, if you will, I, my family, my wife and I, we've been on vacation multiple times. So my grandson's birthday is in like September. We went back home. Just not really here as much as I normally am. And it seems like for multiple weeks in a row, we had something to do. Whether someone was visiting, we visiting somebody else. And so the shows kind of went on the wayside, by the wayside. I think that I probably could remedy that going forward by having a couple of shows in the chamber, which I'm kind of working on now. Like I said, I have a different setup. Like, for example, I'll just give you an idea of what normally I would have. Normally, I would have a different headset, which has a microphone on it. In fact, uh, and I think that the sound for that was fine. The microphone was fine, and maybe you guys might say, "Well, the microphone you have on going now is terrible." You know, so be it. Um, but now the way it stands, I have this microphone right here, which normally actually runs through I don't know what you call this. It's called a Zoom H6. It's my Zoom H6. I record sound from there, but I run my microphone through there and also through my camera, my other camera, not my webcam. So in all reality, usually I have a front facing camera. It's my Vizia. I've had that thing for a long time. In fact, I recorded some things of my youngest daughter. I recorded some video footage of us taking, so my two oldest daughters taking my youngest daughter to the zoo. She was kind of young. I would say she might have been 6 or 5 years old. My youngest daughter, I taught her, and I learned sign language together. So I learned Japanese as a child, and I spoke a little Spanish as well. And I decided that I wasn't going to defile either of those languages. And we didn't have the ability to well, we had the ability, but we didn't get a babysitter that was Spanish speaking or Japanese speaking. So I just decided that I wanted her to kind of have that portal opened up in her mind. So her and I learned sign language. So she was communicating at a very young age. And the trip that I'm talking about where I use that camera, this camera in front of me, not the webcam, but the other camera, we had learned, all of us had learned like how to sign different animals, um, tiger, goat, giraffe, all that stuff. So anyway, it's kind of interesting. Um, yeah. So let me check something real quick. I don't know if I even have this on. Let me see something. I'm just gonna check something real quick. So when I get a indication. Oh, I think okay. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. All right. So that's cool. All right. So I named this live what I named it. We've already dealt with. I don't know if they're pronouncing it Helene or Helen. I think it's Helene, which now is affecting Western North Carolina. I live in Eastern North Carolina, so in fact, people were calling us asking how we were doing. I really wasn't quite aware of the fact that there was the suffering and the damage and all that stuff that was happening in Asheville, North Carolina. And I became even more aware just a couple of days when Cliff Williams reached out to me and he said, "Are you aware of what's going on in Asheville?" And I wasn't. I told him I wasn't. But there's a whole bunch of stuff going on as it relates to people that are able to help there, boots that are on the ground there, people wanting to come in, the logistics of people trying to get there, and FEMA or whatever government entities trying to keep them out. And I've heard all kinds of, I mean, people that are there going through the suffering that they're going through, seeing the unalived people that are there, and I'm sure the toll is growing steadily. Not being able to find out where their loved ones are, and then people wanting to help, but then some entity, big government in place, trying to keep account of all the supplies, all the moving parts, and just trying to accomplish what they need to accomplish. And I think what most people are probably understanding is that when these things come into place, despite the fact that the funds are there, FEMA, for example, to set up aid and supplies and all those kind of things, but there's always the problems that exist. So I think the way it stands right now is people are just saying, we don't need you involved. And I don't really know. I'll be the first to tell you, I do not know what the solution is in this regard. I've never been to Asheville. I haven't even really checked out the geography there, but it seems to be one of those places or one of those instances where it's not very easy to get in and out of there. And I know apparently close to where Tennessee is, like Nashville, the area, the border of there, um, it's kind of problematic as well. So all of that to say, and I mention these things because as it stands right now, it would be very difficult for my family and I, for my family and I to go on the vacation which we had planned. So, I lived in Utah for some 30 years. I moved to North Carolina, partially because of the age of my parents, who are in Indiana. Both my parents are in Indiana, age being a factor. Um, I wanted to be closer to them in case there was any reason that I would need to take care of them, or just to be closer to family. My father's getting old. My mother, suffering from dementia as she has. Being closer on the East Coast was instrumental in my decision, that being my fiance at the time, deciding whether or not to move to North Carolina from Utah. She's from Utah. I was there for many years, and then when my job offered me the position, being the director of a call center, all of those factors came into play. So we did move to North Carolina, and now we are closer to family. So when we got married and went to Indiana, had my father marry us, they mentioned that they had been planning a family trip to Disney. Disney World, the one that's in Orlando in Florida. We're like, cool, we have a condo and see if we can get some arrangement that might make the trip more cost effective, cheaper and those kind of things. So we started working things out and doing some planning. This was like months ago. Like we're like probably 4 or 5 months of planning, and they had been planning for 2 years or so prior to that. So we get it all planned. We get my daughters, all three of my daughters in Utah, basically to plan, coordinate everything for them to come as well. So it's a lot of moving familial parts, family parts involved in getting us to one place to enjoy, to fellowship together, enjoy a vacation, have the funds in place to do so. Hey, Brandon, what's up? Good to see you. Um, have the funds in place to be able to have this vacation. And then we start hearing about Mr. Milton. Now, I haven't even looked into I think I may have looked into this before. If any of you guys know what it is, like how the names come about, because we had Katrina, so a female one. I remember Irene. I remember Ivan. I think I don't. I never know whether it's going to be a female or a male. I think it has something to do with where it's coming from. But all of these things I think are set up. But I don't even know, why is Mr. Milton? Why is his name? And I swear, if I see a Milton in real life, I'm probably going to want to knock him upside the head. But Milton is apparently, set poised to wreak havoc to multiple people. And like I said in the description, I don't mean to sound um, selfish by any means. I mean, I've already succumbed to the fact that we are not going to be able to go on this trip. So, I mean, my wife and I traveling down by car to meet everybody who's flying in from multiple different places. It even though it seemed like it might pass the area that we are going to go through, and there's a possibility that we could still go to Disney World and all those kind of things. But I'm hearing that this is the first time that Disney World has closed down its doors in many years. Don't know exactly what the numbers are, but let's say a long time, like maybe 1920s or something like that. I don't know, 1939. Who knows? I can look it up. Let's see if we can look it up. All right, let's see. When was the last time Disney World closed? Okay, so apparently people are trying to check it out. So let's see. Excuse me, let me put it up there. It says on March 12th, 2020. I said 1920. So it's 24. Let's see. Disney spokesman announced that Disney World and Disneyland Paris would temporarily shut due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Beginning March 15, 2020, in 2020, Disney World laid off 6,500 employees. Wow. Okay, so I thought that there was another time for a storm. Let's see. Disney closed for natural disaster. Let's see. Wow, such an iconic image. I wonder. So I never went to Tokyo Disneyland when I lived in Japan. In fact, when my it would have been my 8th grade year. So I went to a private school, St. Joseph International School, and we decided that we were going to go on a trip. I think that maybe it's very possible that Streamyard doesn't like me having so many tabs open, so I'll be mindful of that. If it stops streaming, then let me know. Anyway, um, we had the choice to go to Tokyo Disneyland, which was not very it was kind of new when during this time. So I was there, I'm gonna say it might have been 1986 or 85, 85 or 86, somewhere around there. Um, so Tokyo Disneyland was one of the places that we could have gone to, but we went to another park in Japan called Toshimaen, if I can remember correctly. Toshimaen is what it was called, and it would had more more rides that were suited to our age, 13, 14-year-olds at the time. So we went there instead of Tokyo Disneyland. But did you know in its 50-year history, so 1920, when was it established? Did you know in 50 years of history, Disney World has closed only a handful of times? We're sharing every single time the parks have closed. All right. So, hurricane closures. Natural disasters have caused Disney World to close most often over time. Makes sense. Out of its closures, the majority have been due to hurricanes. Florida is prone to hurricanes, but Orlando is located inland, so hurricanes often fizzle out before they make it to Disney World. If they do make it, the winds and rains have typically died down in comparison to a hurricane on coastal or inland island city. All right, so let's see. Okay, here we go. It looks like here are the hurricanes that have forced Disneyland or Disney World to close. So 1999, it looks like, was the earliest. I don't know why I said 1920 in the beginning. Just scratch that off. That I pretend like I didn't even say 1920. Maybe I was thinking 2020. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. See, Floyd, Charlie, Francis, Janine or Jean, Matthew, Irma, Dorian, Ian, and Nicole. So does it look like, let's see, there's how many females? We'll call that 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so the guys have it. All right, so the guys have it. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, we had until today's Tuesday. Yeah, we had until Wednesday to decide. We probably were going to be traveling on Thursday or Friday. We could have gone either of 2 days, Thursday or Friday, to meet up with our family, and then spend 4 or 5 days there. So, but it just looks like that it's just not going to work. So we had to make some decisions. So, but if it was you that were either traveling or that lived in the area. See, so in the 30 years that I was in Utah, obviously I was there during record snow, like when I first got there. I think it was like 91 or 92. I remember we went to a club after Friday night. We went to a club. We went inside the club, danced, did our thing, and we came outside and the ground was covered. And I swear it snowed for about, I want to say, a week and a half. It was close to 14 days. It was a long time. And it snowed and snowed and snowed and snowed and snowed. And that was like one of my early experiences or recollections or yeah, experiences of Utah. And then there was one tornado. I don't remember what year it was, but it basically started like in the hills and kind of went down and touched downtown a little bit and um, ripped a couple of building roofs off. But it really wasn't that strong. And I lived kind of far away from downtown. I'm talking like I lived on, in comparison to downtown, I lived about 72 blocks. If you've ever been to Utah, you know that I got to mention something about that too. That was my phone. If you know anything about Utah, the city is situated on by a grid system. It's on a grid system, and it's centered around the temple. So north, south, east, and west. If you go one block north, then that's 100 north. On down 200, 300, 400, 500, east, west, and south. So I lived on 7200 south ish, somewhere near 7200 south. So 72 blocks away from downtown. And it's very easy to get around. So I was actually pretty far away from downtown, about 25 to 30 minutes away. So I really wasn't cognizant of the fact that that there was a tornado, and then everybody was talking about a tornado. The point that I'm trying to make is that I have not been privy to uh, natural disasters, but for when I was young and I lived in Indiana with my father. I was born in Indiana, but I lived with my father for a period of time. My mom went into the military. My sister and her lived together, and then I went with her, and then I lived with her until I graduated. But my father used to um, we had a CB. So we had a home based CB, and he had one in the car, and he would communicate. He and I would communicate um, via the CB radio. And I remember he would always tell me, like, kind of like, I was raised during the era where they called what they called latchkey kids, and it was two different kinds of ways of being kids. I'll kind of describe it. With my father, him being a single parent, and a male, and I had this kind of experience too when I raised my children. But he was always weary of people knowing that I was home by myself, whether it be somebody who he might have been dating at the time, or my grandparents, or one of my grandparents, mostly my grandmother or my aunt or somebody. Somebody usually was there with me, but there were times where sometimes the coverage was just a little bit off. So I had to be at home by myself for a period of time, and he would communicate with me. But he was always worried that somebody would know that, and we had this kind of code of how we would discuss um, me needing him. And I kind of actually developed, interesting enough that now I'm doing the same thing kind of with the channel, but I developed this kind of personality, if you will, on the CB radio. My name was Super Kid, times called Black Diamond, or was it Black Cobra? It was Black Cobra. I had this statue of a cobra. Somebody gave me a cobra. It was like grayish and black, and it had these green, not real emerald, but emerald colored eyes. And so my name was Super Kid, sometimes called Black Cobra. Um, and we would talk, and I mean, I never felt like as a child that I was ever in danger. And it was funny. I've heard a comedian talk about how you would somebody would come knocking at the door, and they would say, it's such and such a person. And I was like, I can't let you in, because my father would say, no matter who it is, do not let them in. And I don't know why, as an adult, another adult would know that you have a child at home and not remind them that, hey, I've told my son not to let you in, so don't think that he's going to let you in. So you better have a key. But I swear, if somebody came and they didn't have a key, and my father didn't tell me they were coming, it was just one of those things. I'd just be sitting there. You have to wait until my dad gets home. And the types of situation that would make it so that I was there by myself would be, for example, if I got sick enough to not actually make it to school, and dad had to work, and then everybody else wasn't prepared or hadn't planned to take care of me, then I'm going to be sleeping or whatever. So that was an instance when I had chicken pox, for example. I can remember that being one of the times. And then somebody would come and want to bring me soup or something. And then they would leave, and I would go to the door, and I would grab the stuff, but I didn't let him in. I think the reason why I began telling that story is because there was a couple of times that I was at home by myself in Indiana where there was a tornado warning. And I do remember, like, the feeling of the air the way it is when a tornado comes or is near. You can kind of feel the pressure in the air. And my father would tell me, because we had a basement downstairs where he had, like, um it wasn't a huge basement, but there was a little area where he cut hair, and we also had, like, not one of the types of tubs that you have nowadays, but like a really sturdy, strong, like steel tub or like ceramic. It was heavy. And my father would tell me to either stand in the doorway or get in the tub. So when there was and this only happened, I'm gonna say like maybe 3 or 4 times. So I don't really have that much experience with natural disasters other than earthquakes, because in Japan, you had tremors all the time, but there's never really like any huge tremors, at least not in the area that I was. So in my mind, even now when my wife and I were talking about it, I mean, I am an eternal optimist. I really am. So even when we started hearing that might have been sorry, and I'm talking to you guys are just looking at a screen. Even when we first started hearing that there was like a hurricane that might affect our plans to go on vacation. At first I was like, well, this is the day we're supposed to be there, and on that day it says it's past. So I'm like, it should be okay. That was my first thought. It literally was my first thought was, oh, we're still gonna be able to go. But then in like a very short period of time, went from a lower category to a higher category, I think 5, in a very short period of time. It's like, it might be a little bit worse. But then I was hearing also that, over this in the Gulf of Mexico, it has all this moisture and temperature and all that stuff, and it can build up while it's over the sea, and then when it gets over land, it kind of dies down. So I'm still like kind of thinking in my mind, there's still hope. But as it comes closer and closer, I mean, you check out, hey Nikki, I thanks for coming, but and I didn't even um send out any message to anyone, which I may have done previously. So thank you for joining. All of you guys who have wrenches and people who stopped by for a few minutes. I mean, I'm really just kind of catching up. So, but yeah, as optimistic as I can be about it, the reality is likely that it even my oldest daughter, who was traveling from Utah to meet us, it'd been the first time that I would see my grandson at Disneyland, or Disney World, etc. They were like, we don't want to be traveling into you know danger, and I kind of agree. I mean, I get it. Her husband and she are making decisions absent what the family is doing. They're going to be meeting today, and I think at the end of the day, it's just best that we just make it another day. So, but I was just listening to DL Saint. I'm pretty sure I have his name correctly. Let me see if I have it correctly. I'm gonna do this real quick. I started. I don't remember where, exactly where I came on to his channel. Uh, is it DL Saint? Saint DL? DL. DL Saint. I really want to know podcast. This guy right here. And in fact, it was this show where he was talking about um the hurricane. So actually, let's listen to this real quick. I'm sure it'll be okay for us to listen to this. How do I do this?
In just over 2 minutes, I'm going to show you how I created this ebook using a feature called Genie from Designer. Firstly, when you're in Designer, all you need to do is enter
I
in
always wonder
your
if I should
niche or your
like just pause
idea.
this
So
real
I'm going to
quick.
type.
Now, maybe I don't know. I'm going to call this a poll. But when you are watching someone else's video, even if it's for a very short period of time, I mean, I know what I do when I listen to most um, advertisements. I skip it more often than not. But should you allow the advertisement to go through or skip it? There are a couple weather watcher channels that are good. One is Max Velocity and the other is Ryan Hall. Okay, so we will check that out as soon as I do this, but I'm gonna skip. I'm just gonna kind of his
What's good,
I
Eric?
think he talks about where he is and what his decision is with regards to staying or leaving. I don't know exactly where it is, but we'll give it just a few minutes and see if we can discover where he talks about it. But at the end of the day, if you want to watch all of it, when I put up the real version of this, I'll link to this video.
Everybody, it's Uncle Saint. As you guys know, I live in Tampa. And unless you've been under a rock, you guys also know that there's a Category 5 hurricane uh, projected to hit Tampa dead on Wednesday. It's Monday. So I am gathered up my family and we are getting out of here. We are going to head north. Um, I'm just kind of driving around. I'm looking at what's going on. A lot of people don't seem to be taking this serious. They're just going about their life, doing their thing. Um, I've seen the aftermath of a Category 5 hurricane, Hurricane Andrew. I was in the Army. They sent us down for relief efforts. And I'm here to tell you that hurricanes are not to be played with.
Amen.
Um, we just had a storm hit, just kind of skirt us 2 weeks ago. And a lot of flooding. The surge did a lot of damage. I just drove past a street here that has like a block and a half of people with taking their flooded out, damaged household goods and put them on the corner. We're talking sofas and beds and mattresses and stuff like that. Everything that got waterlogged is sitting on the street right now. And there's another storm coming in a couple days. Tampa's not designed to handle a major storm coming from the Gulf.
Now that is no joke. I'm gonna tell you something. We go from North Carolina. I live in Eastern North Carolina to Naples, which is not very not. I want to say it's like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours away from Tampa. And every single time that we have traveled down there, we go through Tampa. It'll say like we have, I'm gonna say 4 hours left, or maybe I want to say it's like 2 hours, maybe a little bit more. But every time we get there, there's always a huge amount of traffic, and by the time that we are traveling through it, like it goes 3 hours, the time gets more and more and more. So imagine what's happening when we're traveling through and the traffic's like that, and then something like this happens. So he's in that area. So the last time that we went home, I'm pretty sure we diverted around somehow, probably going west a little bit, and then traveled up to North Carolina. But we made it so that we didn't go through Tampa. Um, yeah, so I mean, if he and this cat right here, I mean, he seems like he's one of those guys. He's talked about being in the army. I think he was a air traffic controller. So he's all about logistics, and he's packing up his family and leaving. And I meant to mention this. I'm going to say it on the air, if you will. Um, and anybody can figure out how to get a hold of me. I mean, my email is faqthemadness@gmail.com. If for whatever reason you happened, DL, to be anywhere near me and there's something I can do for you, let me know. I'm only a line away, and if we ever get to the point where we are that way, then I'm only a line or text or a call away. So, um, if someone happens to be in an area and they, something happens and they're not able to, do what they were planning on doing, and they'd say, "Oh man, I'm in North Carolina, and I thought Craig was in the area." Reach out to me. You never know. There might be something if I can't do anything, then I'll let you know. But if I can help, then I will try to help. So uh, specifically when there's this kind of thing going on. So and I noticed too. I don't wear polos very often. I sell a lot of them. but sometimes I wear polos when I golf, and I unbutton my top button. But it looks good on it. He's wearing this particular thing is what do you call it? It's not darn it, I know what it is. It'll come to me. Nautica. I think that's Nautica. Anyway, so that's that. Now let's check out let's see. Nikki said she wrote there are a couple weather channels that are good. One is Max Velocity. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to share something with you guys. I just got this pair of glasses. It's a new pair of glasses that I got online. If you haven't shopped for a pair of glasses recently, I mean, there is some kind of interesting technology going on. First of all, where I got the glasses done, there was like a technician there, and he set me up, and he did a couple of different tests, and then online, like through a Zoom kind of thing, I spoke with the doctor, and the doctor could control all the things and flip, say, "Do you like one better or two better, three or four?" You know, that kind of thing. The reason why I mention it is because although she says that it gets me to 2020, I'm still not quite used to this progressiveness on these particular glasses, and so sometimes I'm looking and it's still blurry, and I'm not quite used to them. So if I look like I'm doing this, it's because my eyes can't see. That's why. Okay, so I'm gonna go to max velocity. Let's see what it looks like. That's a YouTube channel. Oh no, that maybe she was talking about a YouTube channel. That's why I still have. That's so funny. You know what? So, with regards to
Tropical storm Milton has formed in the Gulf of Mexico.
With regards to my glasses, so I think I might have been. So I am now. I'm turning 54 in a month. So I feel like right around when I was 40 something, maybe 45 years old, I kept having a problem with my phone. And I remember I had lost my glasses or broken them or something like that. And so I was like, I can go to the VA hospital and they'll hook me up. And so I went, and my doctor was like, you probably could. You're at the age now where you could look at some bifocals. And I was like, and he put them up there, and I could see clear as day. It was like, wow, that is clear. And I was like, you know what? I don't wanna have either the little thing on the side or a line. He's like, no, we have progressive glasses. And he's like, some people have a problem getting used to them, but you can get over that in a couple of days. I was like, no, I'm good. I got my glasses home, and I was like, I cannot see a damn thing. So I made another appointment, and he he walked in and he goes, you need those bifocals, don't you?" And I was like, "Yes, sir, I do." So he set me up, and man, I loved my progressive glasses. I mean, like the ones that I have, not these ones, but the other ones that you've seen me wear. I, I I love those glasses, and I totally got used to them. The problem that those particular glasses with is that on the bottom have these ones have like a metal portion that holds the glass in, but my other ones, they have just like a piece of rubbery floss that holds it in, and sometimes it'll pop out, and I have to keep messing with it. Anyway, so that's one reason why I went and got new glasses, but these are new, and so I'm giving them the runaround, but I'm hoping and praying that it's not the case that the prescription is not correct. But at times I can tell when I'm looking far away that I know that that is spot on. It's just, I think, getting used to where my lowest one when I'm reading, because I don't really have a problem here. It's the middle one that's like set for my computer screen that I think is a little. I just have to get used to it. Anyway, I digress. All right, so let's look at. Oh, you know what? Max velocity, accurate and honest forecast. All right, I'm gonna hit subscribe. I'm gonna let the person know where are the shorts. I'm gonna let them know that Nikki sent me.
Hurricane Beryl has formed in the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh,
so this is
maybe.
officially a hurricane.
I was gonna say maybe he doesn't have it set up where. Oh, I'm not. I gotta share. Sorry.
In the Atlantic Ocean, and this is what it looks like. This thing is organizing like crazy. I said it last night at like 4 a.m. I'm like, hurricane season is gonna be crazy. This is a reason why. It is late June, and we have an explosive hurricane developing, and this could easily bring significant hurricane impacts to areas like the Lesser Antilles and the Caribbean Sea, eventually the Greater Antilles. Now, from there, will it continue to produce a hurricane, and will it continue to produce impacts? It probably will to areas like the Yucatan Peninsula. And where it goes is questionable. I don't think it's going to go towards Florida or really even towards like the.
I didn't see which one he was talking about, but let's see where the videos are now. I'm sure he must be talking about. Here we go. The hurricane is getting worse. Not good. This is bad info. Now, I'm trying to get better in all of the things. Ryan Hall is live right now. Let's see. Why can't I get to? All right, Nikki. This is something you're gonna have to tell me. If you can do it, then I know. If there's anybody that can do it, you can do it. So right now, you sent to me a link. I guess you sent to everyone a link. But when I click on it in like StreamYard, it asks me to show it on the screen, so I can't copy it. Do you know what I'm asking? Click it on it in YouTube. Oh, okay. See, look at this. That woman is brilliant. She already knew what I was talking about before I even got it out of my mouth. Look at you with your bad self. All right, I got you. Or you got me. Let's put it that way. All right, let me go to me. My channel. And we'll go to here. Okay. And all right. So let's see. Oh, why is that like that? All right, there we go. Click on it on YouTube. See, she's just so smart. I just think that's brilliant. That almost like my wife. My wife says and does things for me before I even think it sometimes. So, bravo, Nikki. With your bad self. All right. Oop. I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for our graphics to populate with the latest information before we go over that. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to stop going through the graphics just so we can wait for them to update. Because we did just get an advisory 14A.
So is it
So hold on. We're going to get right back into the forecast as soon as we get this information.
Is it buffering because of? Let me know. Oh, and I can look at the. That's what I intended to do originally, was have my screen up while this was going with the volume down. It's not like I have a ton of people chatting, but each of you are special to me. All right. What did I do wrong? Oh, okay. It's so funny because you have too many tabs open. Okay. All right. That one's closed.
Okay. For anybody that doesn't know about it.
I don't think he's saying anything right now.
Siverin says, "Do you think Tampa General Hospital will have to put the aqua fence back up during Helene? If it saved the hospital during Helene, then yes, there's going to be a lot more storm surge with this one. Like, I can say that without a doubt. Like, this is definitely going to be worse than Helene, even if it's not nearly as bad as what we think. It's going to be worse than Helene for Tampa. Well, let me make sure I phrase that right. It's not going to be worse than Helene, certainly overall.
So this is kind of cool. Now I don't know where he's getting this this view from, but he has all of this is FDOT, maybe Florida Department of Transportation, but he has all of those things up, which is kind of cool. But I think what he's kind of hitting on to is this is going to be much worse than Helene. At the end of the day, like I said, I'm confident that we made the right decision not to go on the trip. And as some of the people, there are traffic cams, yes. As some of the people are probably experiencing in like the Asheville or Western North Carolina kind of area, is too much congestion will hinder the process, right? So there's going to be people trying to get in or trying to get out probably. But where do you go? I mean, at the end of the day, do you just go? How far north do you go? Like if I was in the area, I'm saying north, right? Because if you go west, aren't you going towards closer to like, like Louisiana, like that area? Like on the map, I would put up the map, but I'm trying to think of how Florida is situated. I know you go over where that panhandle part is, that's west, but you're still in Florida. But then if you go up a little bit, Alabama, Georgia, I guess you go into there, and maybe North Carolina. But I mean, that's where I would go. But even when Helene came, it went up through Florida and then it went into North Carolina. So, and they got hit. So, I mean, you just have to pray, kind of, right? Can you guys see this part? Okay. Is this part right here? What is that? Is that the Florida part? And that's the goal?
For Tampa specifically, this will likely be worse than Helene.
Yes. Mm. So I mentioned, let me refresh this. I mentioned that it's buffering, but I have a new setup.
But once again, I am almost certain that.
Shoot, I just wanted to pause. Sorry about that. I'm still getting used to these.
Ready, R.
At 8 p.m. tomorrow.
Let me just say this real quick. So, what was I going to say? Oh, so up here, I have my laptop and I have it connected to the internet wirelessly. I'm pretty sure that in order for me to utilize the setup, which I think ultimately when it comes down to the sound, the microphone, etc., is better, but the computer is not as fast as what I have, my work computer that I use eBay on. So, and occasionally what I will do is I'll downstairs and I will be using it. But like, for example, I actually have a green screen behind me. So like when I have something in the background behind me, it turns out better than if I'm downstairs, I don't have anything and all you can see is just our inventory. So that's one reason why I don't like doing it down there. But it's a more powerful computer and it connects to the internet better. So one, I have to be cognizant of the fact that my tabs have to be not as many. So maybe if I do on the side, maybe on my phone or something like that, I want to look something up. But I'll work those out. You guys, I'll get better at it. So anyway.
and then it still looks like this is going to make landfall as either as a category 3, and then it's going to maintain strength, potentially being a category 2 near Orlando on October 10th at 8 a.m. So not much change in the forecast here, which is a little bit surprising. I think that we are definitely going to have a period of time where this is a category 5. It's not weakening anytime soon.
Okay. Thank you.
So we did get a little bit of an update on the placement of the track here, but it's also not it's not very common for them to do major updates to the track with the special advisories. So this is advisory 14A, right? So the A indicates that we might not see that 5 listed on the track here. It's just like little change in the cone. So I'm sure the national,
Speaking of glasses, this guy, I think you called him Ryan. What's his name? Ryan Hall. He has the type of glasses that I was wearing prior to these ones right here. So he knows what I'm talking about because it has that little wire thing on the bottom. I call them my Malcolm X glasses because they kind of look like Malcolm X glasses. But anyway,
the National Hurricane Center sees what's going on here, and honestly, we don't need it. We don't need the little marker here to know that the storm's getting stronger.
man. So let's see: Charlotte County, Florida, Collier County, Monaco,
Thank you,
Sarasota County.
Jennifer,
It's just traffic
one
all
of our great
over.
moderators for 13 months. You're awesome. Always here. Like a northern track into South Carolina? No. This thing's going to run away from South Carolina quickly. It's going to go way out yonder.
So yeah, that's what I was saying. Like going north. I mean, I guess your options. Obviously, you go north. Somebody was telling me that they were telling me that they were going to go south. I don't think under any circumstance when there's basically a tornado coming through essentially the center of this portion right here, would you go south? I would go north. The track of Helene, I don't know exactly where it went, but it somehow ended up here. So I don't know if it kind of went this way, but yeah, I mean those people, it missed us. At the end of the day, it missed us on the eastern side of North Carolina. But like he said, it doesn't even this particular one doesn't even look like it's gonna hit South Carolina. So, you know, luckily for them.
It's going to be a fish storm after it gets done with Florida. This storm
A fish
in
storm.
particular has a problem with Florida and Florida only.
Yeah.
From Hurricane Center about the pressure and the wind speed. We haven't really gotten a major update on the track forecast yet, which is something that we can, we're going to look at on our own through the models here in a second. But the update is that the Hurricane Milton is now almost a category 5 again. We've got 155 mile per hour sustained winds. That if it was 157 miles per hour, then we would have a category 5. So
7 miles away from that.
Essentially category 5 again, as the storm is continuing to gain strength now to approach Florida. We do still expect that it will weaken before landfall. It's not going to make landfall as a category 5. However, we've spent now, I believe, 2 hours talking about how that doesn't matter. The wind speed's going down as this thing makes landfall is not going to make it any better of a situation for anybody involved. We're mostly concerned about the storm surge here, which is actually going to get worse as the wind field expands.
I'll tell you one thing that's interesting. One thing that's interesting about our vacation, and so we, like I said, we have a condo, and we made it so that our family members would be able to have guest pass in the guest room. So I think we had 6 rooms, maybe 7 total. Um, they are going to allow us to, as of Wednesday, we can cancel, which is 1 day prior to when we're going to leave. If we did it after the fact, then they would allow us to change as well. And they're even having an issue with people who are stuck there now as we speak. So it's not as if they're quote unquote encouraging people to come given the circumstances. So that's one thing. But so with Disneyland said you can cancel early, which we were kind of waiting to figure out what everybody else wanted to do, or you could wait and let them expire, and then they will allow us to reschedule through, I think, December 31st. January, February, March, April, May, June, October, November, December. Yeah, January or December 31st. But some people wanted to go to SeaWorld. Now, I, I, I've gone to San Diego SeaWorld. It's buffering now. I've gone to the uh, San Diego one, but not the Florida one. And I didn't realize that they had these kind of like adult rides. I was just looking at one as like a surfboard one, and you're standing up and then you can jump or whatever. But we didn't want to go to spend however much money to go to SeaWorld. But they wouldn't give refunds. I don't understand if you have a natural disaster and Disney World closes that you can't close or that you can't be willing to refund tickets. The experience that I've had, I mean, I do remember the experience that I had at SeaWorld, but I kind of remember there being kind of like a negative stigmatism associated with SeaWorld, Shamu and all those kind of things, and people being upset about, the whale in captivity and stuff like that. Other than that one show where the the uh the killer whale, you saw the thing where he touched it or something, some movie. I don't remember which movie it is, but that's what that's what I remember in my mind. Anyway, so are apparently going to be refunded. So they lost money on 2 fronts, and one of them was SeaWorld. So shame on you, SeaWorld.
Has been
Oh,
allowed to
so,
expire.
Free Willy.
Hey,
Once
Fox.
again, and I think I do this sometimes with you guys too, Nikki, but I don't know why it is when you're talking in front of a mic, actually like this, and you are trying to think of something as it comes to you, and you can't think of it, and everybody else who's listening, you included, has the answer. But yes, it was Free Willy. Very good. Good job. You're the best.
Fox
Literally.
Valley says, "Hey Ryan, is there any news on where the Y'all Squad is going to be staging, or nothing concrete yet?" We've got some options from we've people places us.
Okay, we get the idea. And we're at 59 minutes, so almost an hour. So I'm gonna just do a couple of. All right, thank you. Thanks for showing up. I really appreciate having you. I introduced to you all my friend Jadek. Jadek is his last name, but it's such a cool name. That's what we called him in the Air Force. Um, he's become this. He's the CEO of a company called Bloodsport. But he had interaction with officers, which I kind of intimated on. They put him in jail. They put him in a restraint chair and used stun cuffs on him. And so we're going to go through his story with his business and how he had this interaction with the Tarpon County Sheriff's Office, at least the sheriff's jail, because he also had an interaction with the police department. But we're going to be doing those on Tuesdays, I believe. Maybe not obviously not this Tuesday. I think he and I are going to come on the air later on, but it's kind of just to introduce the fact that we're going to do probably 3, maybe 4 shows because it's kind of involved in the whole scenario. For example, he had a bunch of footage that was released to him, but for the time frame that he was there seems to be a lot of missing footage. So I submitted my own public records request, and I'm trying to figure out where the discrepancy is. Why is there so much footage that's not there? But so that's going to be coming within the next couple of weeks. Not necessarily this Tuesday, but the Tuesday to follow. I am going to be switching the time whenever I do. I think Tuesday is going to be static, but I'm going to use 1300 hours. 13 is my favorite number. So 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is when I will most likely launch or be on live. So if you're interested, then that's the time that I will be. Not earlier, not later, but 1300 seems to work. For the record, when it comes to eBay, my post office opens at like 8:30 in the morning, then they close at 12, and then they reopen at 2. So between noon and 2 o'clock is usually when I have some free time, including to do like a live show. So I think I'm gonna take advantage of that and do it that way. Um, so yeah, that's the plan. So I really do appreciate those of you who stopped by, those of you who will check out the video, the restream, if you will. I just kind of, like I said, wanted to get back into the groove of things and kind of test out my setup the way it is as now. I think that I like it better for the fact that I can have a better looking background behind me. I like that I don't have to have the headset mic. What I would like actually is to hear, as far as the monitor, my voice in my headset. I don't know how to do that quite yet, but I think I will figure it out. The last time I think what I did was I had like a little tiny one of those smaller sets and I put one of them in my ear, which was fine, but we'll figure all those things out. The production of it all, when I first started kind of doing anything YouTube related, I obviously I was working with Generally Specific. You all know that, but he was doing his production the way he was doing it. He had the help of wonderful people, mods like Nikki, helping him out, and so it is asked to do that, and I'm quickly recognizing that that is a fact. So anyway, for those of you who are affected by Milton, like I said, I wasn't intending on making it seem being selfish in any way. I was just kind of relating my own personal experience with regards to my life experience with natural disasters and this one in particular. It obviously is changing people's plans, and sometimes those type of plans take years to develop, um, which to me lends credence to the way that I kind of do things. I said I'm a eternal optimist, and I like to be as flexible as I possibly can in any situation. So the fact that we basically, I think we might take a little trip somewhere, obviously north or maybe a little west, just, for a day or so. But we were planning on taking some time off, so we might as well just kind of use the time to kind of get some QT time, as my wife likes to call it. So we may have some quality time in the books. So I appreciate you guys stopping by. I appreciate the support that you give me. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Certainly give us a like. It's the easiest way for you to let us know how we're doing. If you want to reach out to me directly, you can. My email is faqthemadness@gmail.com. I try to answer every email that comes in, and I have made some connections. Like, for example, the next video that I have, you will see that I was able to get some very good public records advice from uh, Gandalf, Steve, I Am Free, because he and I have been in contact in the past. So I'm able. He can reach out to me anytime, and if I just send an email, he usually responds. And he gave me some really good advice with regards to the public records request that I'm doing about Jadek's uh, case. Uh, I don't even know how far he intends to take it. I think that he most likely will, seek some type of representation with regards to what happened to him. But it is fascinating on any level when we see government officials trying to do the smallest piece of or make the smallest effort to hide things, especially when you catch him on it. And Steve is really good about the last video that I watched of his. Um, he got him. You can tell that he put him on notice that I know that you have been hiding this from me because somebody else got the exact record that I was looking for. So he's given me some advice in that regard. So going to be doing some good things. See what happens. And there's a couple of updates that I got to come up with too as well. The Douglas Slade case. I'm kind of interested in figuring out what's going on with that. Um, I'm still trying to follow up on the SSA case. That's the one that really basically started me off on this journey of, uh, because of my mother, um, wanting on any level to record in public. Um, it was because I had to do business for my mother and I wanted to document it, but they prevented me from doing it. So it's kind of where I started. Um, I don't very often go to other public places and record to see what the reaction is, just because it doesn't suit me. I mean, I live in a small town. First of all, I'm near a town that's bigger, but it just doesn't work for me in the way that I think it does for some others. So um, I think that I really do have an interest though in public records and the types of questions that can be answered through public records requests, and specifically as it relates to North Carolina. And I've heard people talk of late, like the Asheville case, for example, that North Carolina does not recognize body worn camera footage as public record. So there is a process that you have to go through in order to get those public records. And sometimes it can be quite arduous, especially if you are not the individual that is involved in whatever incident it is. I mean, now a lot of times you'll see the Charleston, Mecklenburg, Raleigh, Mecklenburg. Anyway, there's an area not here that they're always putting out body worn camera footage, especially if there's an officer involved shooting, and they do it without any request. I don't know what the process is that they do it by when they decide that they can do it, and they just may, um, as a matter of routine, they may just go ahead and have the judge order that it can be released. I don't know. So, but that is another issue that I'm kind of interested in pursuing as well, trying to figure out what it will take to get public records or get body worn camera footage and dash cam to become public records. So those are kind of my interests, and those are kind of the things that I'm going to be looking at. All of you all who are in harm's way with regards to this storm, please be safe. My family will be praying for yours as well as my own. But that you have safe passage, that you make all the decisions that you need to, that are guided by our greater power, whatever you may call that person or that entity, so that you can remain safe. So everybody take care. As I like to say often, is whether you be on the right, the left side politically, ideologically, um, however, um, what I ask for you as it relates to me is that you meet me somewhere here in the middle. When we decide and remain opposed on the opposite extremes, we are only going in the direction that keeps us going away from each other. Well, if we do that thing, we find common ground that allows us to come somewhere in the middle, to meet somewhere in the middle. That is where we can find a ground where we can most likely agree. So until we meet next time, My name is Craig. I am FAQ the Madness, Fact the Madness. Everybody take care, and thanks for hanging out with me. Peace.